Yakov, that's Mishlita. Today's such an important topic. Bitochon and Hishtadlus and health. Wow. And now we're going to have Mishlita.
A number of months ago I was by Nichem Avelim, and one of the Avelim told everybody who came, take a certain test, it's important. Obviously the curve was nifted because there was not an early detection. You have to take tests, you have to go for screenings for different machlas. At the time it was a chiddush to me, I haven't seen such a thing. And I decided I want to go through the sugya, which is more than just taking certain tests, but it's really the very basic, very broad question of juggling Bitochon and Hishtadlus when it comes to maintaining well health. As we know, there is a extremely important obligation that every Yid has to protect our health. The Mechaber says, the Mechaber in two places devotes a siman in Yeridei Kuf Tezayin, where the Mechaber says Sakanta Chamira Me'isura regarding protecting one's health. You have to be very careful. In Choshen Mishpat, the very last siman of Dal Chelke Shulchan Aruch and Tov Chav Zayin, the Mechaber quotes the pasuk Yisham Lecha Ushmay Nafshecha Ma'oid. And if someone says, well, it's my life, I want to do what I want, what do you care? Says the Mechaber, you give him Malchus. And the Beragoyla, of course, wonders what's wrong with that approach. It's my decision, it's my life, why can't I do what I want, why can't I neglect my health? So the Beragoyla says an extremely important insight that a person is given the gift of life. It's not just a gift, it's a mission. It's our greatest treasure is our life. And if someone could do so much with life and he neglects his health, it shows that a person is rejecting what the Rebbe Shalom gave him of such value. That's hefkerus, and that's why he gets malchus. Okay, we once spoke about this, just the mere fact that the psukim that require maintaining health are so emphatic about it. Hishamalecha ushmar nafshecha ma'oid. Okay, the Welt says the pasuk nishmarte ma'oid nafshei seichem. But basically, there's no doubt about it. Hishamalecha ushmar nafshecha ma'oid. That's what the Mechaber brings. The source of protecting our health is a great chiyuv. And then we learn the Gemara. It's in Bava Kama Pehei. It's also in Brachas. The Tanya, the Bei Rabbi Yishmael. Please note that name. V'rapa yirape mikan shenitne rishus l'roife l'rapois. There's a heta for a doctor to heal a patient. Now, imagine if you're a doctor and someone comes running in, help, I'm dying. So you would find that the greatest mitzvah, chiyuv, schus, to help another yid. But the Gemara's lashon is you have to have a pasuk, a gzeras hakasiv, v'rapa yirape, and the very mild lashon. Nitne rishus l'rayfa l'rapais. Isn't it the greatest mitzvah? Shmiras haguf. So Rashi is bothered by the question, and I quote Rashi: "V'lo yamina rachmana machi v'ato masi." You know, it's not a hefgewelt. We believe in hashgacha pratis. Every stub of a toe, and every time you put your hand in your pocket to take out a coin, you get the wrong coin. That's part of hashgacha pratis. That's what the Gemara says. And if a person has a machla, then it's heaven sent, so to speak. It's come by the Rebbe Shalom. There's a return address. The Rebbe Shalom makes him sick, and you, doctor, make him healthy. Isn't that contradicting or foiling or thwarting the plan of Borei Olam? You need a gzeras hakasiv, v'rape yirape, that you're allowed to do it. Because otherwise, you would think it's us. In fact, Taisus takes it a step further. So why do you need a double lashon v'rape yirape? Zok Taisus, perfect. Because if someone is sick because he neglected his health, he overate and crazy, did other things that make his life in danger. Okay, so it's his foolishness. You could help him, doctor, because it's his mistake. But let's say he has a machla min hashamayim, he has a machla, he didn't bring it upon himself. Maybe taka leave it. Don't treat him. Double lashon, even machla b'dei shamayim. But be that as it may, we need a gzeras hakasiv, a chiddush, v'rape yirape. And now you can understand a chiddush of the Ramban in Parshas Bechukos Chavav Yud Aleph. The Ramban says his yesod And it's really the mindset of the Ramban that we see in other places as well, that a person's life is kulei nisim. We just had the Ramban in the end of Parshas Boy. A person, the basic emunah is to believe our lives are kulei nisim, ein bem teva klal. And the Ramban says that really, in the ideal society, a person should not go to a doctor. He should have bitochon and emunah that if he has a problem, he knows the right response. There's tshuva, there's tefillah, tzedakah. But Dr. Ramban, in the ideal situation, a person should not go to a doctor. And then he learns an incredible pshat in the story of Asa. Asa was one of the Yiddish melachim. He was a melech kasha. And the pasuk in Divrei Yamim says, "V'gam b'chol yav lo'idarash es Hashem ki im b'roifim." He was criticized that when he was sick, he went to the doctor. So the Ramban learns up a pasuk like the Ramban should. He says, if you say someone didn't eat matzah on Pesach, oh, that's terrible. Nevat l'naseh. But worse yet, he ate chametz. Oh, you gewalt, he did a lav. Zogt Ramban, gam b'chol yodaris es Hashem. One mistake was he didn't turn to the Rebbe, he didn't daven, he didn't give tzedakah, whatever it is. And worse yet, ki im b'roif, he went to the doctor. That was an issa. He was held accountable for going to the doctor. And he says his famous lashon, ma'chelik l'roifim beveis oisli ratzayin Hashem. What is a doctor doing in a Yiddish home? There's tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. And then he says, the Gemara v'rape yirape, our Gemara, that is talking to a doctor. If someone comes to you, and he is not in a madrega, and he has turned to a doctor, you're allowed to heal him. But the Ramban says the ideal situation, a person, malach haraifa beis yirei Hashem. And the Even on that pasuk is makel to go to a doctor, and chayla, some chaylim, but otherwise he says you're not allowed to go to a doctor. And throughout the Dairis, he should know there were Gedolei Yisrael that lived with this Ramban. So you do with the Goyim, did not go to doctors, he didn't believe in it. In fact, he once went to visit his brother who was sick, and there was a doctor there. So he says, what's the doctor doing in your house? So the Goyim's brother obviously was Mekel. He says, well, the Bershom created doctors. So the Goyim said, the Bershom created Chazerim also for Goyim. That was his lashon. I don't like to say that word, but his point was that that's for Goyim. But it was a different story when the Goyim himself was very sick, and they knew he wouldn't go to a doctor, so they brought the specialist to his house. The specialist happened to be a kaifa, a rasha. So the Goyim heard his coming. He turned his face the other way. Asla staka b'fnei rasha. So the doctor walks in. He never got such a treatment. And the Goyim's turning his face the other way. He goes, Rabbi, he said, I know you clergy people, religious people, you feel uncomfortable with a doctor, but I want to tell you something. I treat the Pope, and I want you to know he believes in me more than he believes in Yoshka. So the Goyim says, guess what? I also believe in you more than I believe in Yoshka. But it was the Goyim's approach in life that to him it was like, foreign. This Ramban. The Chavetz Chaim's son is made, and the Kol Kisvei Chavetz Chaim, it's Daf Yud Beis, when he speaks about his father, that his father never sent the children to doctors. When there was a problem, he would go up to the attic, he would daven, he'd give tzedakah. Malach harayfim bebeis yirei Hashem. However, that's good, we're going to get to that. However, Poik Chazi Mayama Debar Gedolei Yisrael throughout the Dairis went to doctors, and as you'll see, this is a sugya like every other sugya. The Rashba in a Tshuva in Chelik Aleph Taf Yud Gimel, the Rashba says a person when he's sick has to go to a doctor. Ublevad sheliba l'shamayim, and he says the taina on Asa was that he went to a doctor. That's okay, but he didn't go with the Bitochon that's supposed to accompany a person that goes to the doctor. Begam b'chol yav leidarash es Hashem ki im b'roifim. He went to the doctor as if it would be an independent force. There's Ruchnius and there's Gashmius. There's Emunah and there's Hishtadlus. But the Ramban says, and he makes it very clear, a person is not allowed to rely on Nisim and just neglect an illness. In other words, just like a person puts on tefillin with Emunah, that's Ratzon Hashem, a person should go to the doctor with the emunah that that's Ratzon Hashem. And a visit to the doctor with Bitochon means that he realizes, not just in the subconscious, but very much in the conscious, Ki ani Hashem roifecha. We say 3 times a day, Baruch Ata Hashem roifech chayli Yama Yisrael. The Chayvas Halavavis, Shara Bitochon, that's our spiritual compass, that's our GPS in living life, Al Pi Torah. In Perek Daled, the Chayvas Halavavis says, just like a person needs Hishtadlus, he's not allowed to, he's mashal, you're not allowed to start wrestling with a lion to see, who could win. And in Panasa, we have to go out and make Panasa. The same is true regarding health. There has to be Bitochon and Hishtadlus. In the precondition is, it has to be accompanied with a very solid Bitochon. I asa, and he says, mamash like the Rajma. Each machavan to the same mahalach. The taina was that he went as an independent force, and he wasn't with the proper Bitochon. Early in Perek Gimel of Chayvas Levavas, he uses a lashon, which is very startling, but it's very revealing. Just like we know, Avodah Zarah is terrible. But even Shituf, which is Christianity of today, they believe in their Rebbeinu Shalom, but there's a Shutuf. If someone goes to the doctor, this is his mashal, but he believes in the doctor as an independent force, and he believes in the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's Shituf. It's only the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that was the taina on Asa. So in other words, all agree a Yid has to live with Bitochon. That's the Aleph of Yiddishkeit. The Ramban says that Bitochon has to tell a person, relax, don't go to a doctor. The Rashba, Chayvus Levaves, see it as an obligation, like any other obligation to go to a doctor, but it has to be permeated with a very strong sense of Bitochon. If you look at the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Samach, you might see already some type of this time machloikis from a different angle. In Brachos Daf Samach Amar Aleph, Amar Ravacha, Hanichnas lahakis dam. In those days it was bloodletting, but any person does any medical procedure or even he takes medicine, there's a special tefillah which we say Ada Yom Hazeh, basically Ratzon Mufanech She'esek Zilefu Shalei Mekirei Fachinamot. But then Ravacha adds the following words: in other words, we really shouldn't be doing this. We're going to a doctor, we're taking medicine, we shouldn't be doing this. But says Rashi, in other words, we have to be apologetic and we have to basically excuse ourselves. We shouldn't be doing this, but this is what I am. That sounds like the Ramban. Because the Ramban himself is made, if someone's not on that madrega, he has to go to a doctor. But says the Gemara, please note the names, I think it's very beautiful. Omer Abaya, but Abaya takes exception. No. Don't say that. You don't have to be apologetic. The Tana, the Rabbi Shmuel, V'rapa Yerape, Mimikanchanit, Rishus L'Rayfa L'Rapos. In other words, Abaya says you're not doing anything wrong. The Torah says you should wear tefillin. The Torah says V'rapa Yerape. Go with Bitochon, but don't feel guilty. And we would add, especially if this person is living Al Pi Shulchan Aruch and in Siman Reish Lamed, he says the tefillah before, and he says Kiroi Feichinam Ota. He's living with Bitochon. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to. You look in the Taz and Shin Lamed Vav Sif Aleph. The Taz wonders, the Mechaber there says that the doctor has reshus to heal someone. Why only reshus? Why not mitzvah? So the Taz explains that really, Taka, we shouldn't be going to doctors. But if you go with the right attitude, b'derech hateva, then it becomes a mitzvah. And the Rabban explains this Gemara. Taka Ravacha was a little concerned. Is it a lack of Bitochon? But Abaye said, no, this is the right way to go. And when I learned this Gemara, this machlokes, how much Bitochon, how much Hishtadlus, it came to mind a different, crucial, fundamental question that's negeya to each and every one of us on a daily basis. Before we hope should all be gesund, we shouldn't have to go to doctors, but a more fundamental question is negeya to us on a daily basis. A person, Ben Torah, learns before davening or after davening, What's the heter to close the Gemara and go to work? You have to make panasa. Where's your Bitochon? So that's an old shayla. It's not my question. The Gemara says in Brachas Lamed Hey that Rabbi Shmuel said, "V'yasafta de ganecha haniga minig derech eretz." A person has to learn as much as he could, and when he needs to, he has to make panasa. Omer Rabbi Shimon Chayama Efsha Adam Chayrish B'Shas Charisha Zereya B'Zazuya Torah Matahei Aleh. So this is mamish the same question. We have to juggle Bitochon and Hishtadlus. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is much more demanding. Bal Zoya Kaddish, you could do it. Rabbi Shmuel says, no, a person has to be realistic. Zok to Gemara, please note the names. Amar Abaya, Harba Osuk Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shmuel, Va'olsa B'Yadin. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, V'Olsa B'Yadin. In other words, he wasn't Machriya, but he said, listen, people have done like Rabbi Shmuel, and it works. But like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, only a Chidei Skula. Listen to the beauty of our Torah Kadosh. Says the Mishkenes Yakov in the Sefer Kilas Yakov, he has Lakutim on Shas. There's a double Lishitasa here. Who in Masechta Brachas takes the more moderate approach that's Mekel, you got to do Hishtadlus within reason? Rabbi Shmuel. The same Rabbi Shmuel is Tanit the Rabbi Shmuel, V'rapa Yerapa. The same attitude. Who's the one in Brachas that paskin that most of us are in Bishroel's Madrega? That's Abaya. Harba Osavoi, also the other. And he's the one in our Gemara, in Brachas, that says you don't have to apologize, you're allowed to go for a fuah. That's our Madrega. So there's Rabbi Shmuel Lishitasai, and there's Abaya Lishitasai. So according to this, it would come out l'chayra that the sugi and brachas daf samach, that you don't have to apologize, is a raya to the Rashba, maybe a kasha on the Ramban, and indeed the Birkei Yosef and Yeridea and Shin Lamed Vav, the Tzitz Eliezer has a beautiful tshuva, the Chelekei Ramat Rachel, Perik Chaf. It says it seems that the Gemara, the maskana of the Gemara in brachas that Abaye says say the tefillah and you don't have to fe'en for zich would be a raya to the Rashba and not like the Rambam. In fact, the Birkei Yosef says emphatically, Ha'idna in our times ein lismech ala nes u'kumar issa yesh bedava. It's come out on issa to say I'm not going to a doctor. I'm going to be like the Vilna Goyen. Imashum yuara, imashum lismech anisa. And he says a person has to do like everybody else, but he shouldn't go libay bal imay. He shouldn't go just as if he's desperate or he's out of control and he feels hopeless. He has to go with a very strong emuna. Uvoy yiftach idafka. He has to go with emuna. The Bach already writes, "Keinogu b'chol gvula Yisrael," not like the Rambam. The Pelayoitz and the Erechafur writes that a person that doesn't go to a doctor is ki'ilu mischayev benafshe if he gets sick. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch writes this in Kuf Tzadik Beis Gimel, and to me, which is a little of an indication of how pashut this is. The Chazon Ish, as we know, in our door was the musta of Shaloki Derech HaTeva. Chazon Ish was a malach v'layodam, and he writes in the letters in Aleph Kuf Lamed Vav, Kashin la'atzmi nechoshev es hishtadlus hativius mashenegei lebrius lemitzvah v'choiva ka'achas ha'choivas la'shlomas suris ha'adam. This is part of a Bitochon Emunah, to follow the Ratzon Hashem, V'rapa Yerape. And he says, he quotes the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, that even they went to Goyish doctors when need be. Now, of course, the Ramban was the Ramban, that's for sure. Some say the Ramban would hold that for most people, it's not the way to do things. The Teitake asked, the Ramban himself was a doctor. So the Ramban bleibt the größte Ramban, no doubt about it. But we have to mention that the Paiskim seem to accept the other mahalach of the Chovos HaLevavos and the Rashba. But you have to remember that the precondition that even the Chovos HaLevavos and the Rashba make is it has to be an Hishtadlus that's permeated with emunah. And you look in the Yad Avram, that's one of the first on the page in Yeridea. Mitzvahu taka rapa yerape ublevad shi'aliba l'shamayim v'yeda shamitas ha'refuah mimenu v'yidrishenu v'lo yichavan sh'akol toli b'sam plaini u'be'ish ha'roifi. And he quotes the pasuk by Asa. In other words, a person that lives al pi Torah goes to the doctor with full bitochon. If he's lacking, then he could be guilty of what the pasuk writes, Lo doresh es Hashem ki b'roif. In other words, a person should go to the doctor, but it has to be doresh es Hashem. 3 times a day, don't forget, we give credit where credit is due. Baruch ato Hashem, roifei choyle yama Yisrael. In the end of Siman Reish Lamed, the Mechaber says when a person does the medical procedure or even takes medicine, he says that's tefillah. To me, which is always, it's more inspiring when the Chazon Ish wrote something like this, because the Chazon Ish was a person that lived Kitshleik Derech HaTeva. In an earlier letter, in Aleph Lamed Hey, Ein roi lezalzel b'chukei HaTeva. Don't neglect Teva. Yeah, I'm above Teva, I'm an Erlech Ki ma she'anu korin Teva ha'mechuven b'zeh rotzen ha'yoyse masmit shalom avahaya kol havayis yizbarach. And the Chazon Ish was so poetic, but he means to say, as you think about it, the Bershtam wanted to make that we should live al pi Teva. How do I know? Because he made us humans. The Bershtam had plenty of malachim and srafim and chayis hakodesh. They don't have to eat and drink and go to doctors. But the Rebbeinu Shalom, and I don't know why, but for some reason the Rebbeinu Shalom created us al pi Teva. So that means that's the Rebbeinu Shalom's innermost desire. For almost 6,000 years, the Rebbeinu Shalom operates a world of Teva. He could have done differently. In the Welt is a mother nature. She has a tichel, she has an apron. I would say it's Avinu Avarachamon. Mother nature, Avinu Avarachamon. The Rebbeinu Shalom made the world operating on Teva. He could have done anything. The Rekeach, one of the Rishayim, but he writes that Ha-Teva is Gematria Elikim. Exactly. But don't forget, Elikim is not spelled with the Kuf, because then it's over 100. But Elikim with the Hey is 86, like Ha-Teva. So if a person does something right, he goes to a doctor, he looks at the doctor and says, Ha-Teva is Elikim. And that's Takawai of Yehuda Ayash, one of the Gdolei Svarad, and the Sefer Shevet Yehud in Yeridei Shema Mitzvav, Kamachi Yeshchiyah Chazak ala Choyle v'Akroivim Lavza ala Roifa Muvak. Get a good doctor, a competent doctor, get the right medicine. He says if someone decides, he'll just do anything just to be Yoitza, Ein ze element amatmiyim v'das shoytim uzeh v'karvu liyos pesheya ba'atzmai v'asad litnes hadin. To think I'm not going to go to a doctor, I have Bitochon, he writes a very strong lush. Now this I wanted to make a point. I know someone had this shayla. He had to go for a medical procedure on the heart. It wasn't pikuach nefesh, but it was a serious procedure. It's called an ablation of the heart. And he was told a certain doctor, a local doctor who's very, very competent. But he called up one of these referrals, and they're all wonderful. But their sheet is you have to go to the best of the best. And it happens to be, it seems that the further a doctor lives, the better he seems to be. There's always sending the other end of the world. The costs are exorbitant. And they said, no, we believe that this doctor, your doctor is good, but this is the top of the line. And he was confused. He has to go to a procedure. He already has this doctor. Does he have to go to the best in the world? And I asked my Rabbi, and I asked Rabbi and others. They said, no. As long as he's competent, he's a mumcha, that's enough. Very often these doctors are overrated anyhow, and it seems that when someone's local, it's an automatic psul. No matter how good he is, he lives in Brooklyn, he's got to be no good. I don't know why that mindset comes, but the truth, you think about it, we have to do Hishtadlus, good Hishtadlus, but who said that the Bershtam needs help of the top doctor in the world? So I wanted to, before I said this to Rabbi, I called Rav Bluth, Langezund. I asked him what Rav Moshe held about different shalos. He said, I'll tell you the story of Rav Moshe, and he told me every detail as if it happened today. Rav Moshe needed a pacemaker, and his 2 primary cardiologists said the best doctor's on vacation, the second best, an Italian in St. Vincent Hospital, is available now, but the Rosh Yeshiva should wait for next week for the top. So Rav Moshe, 2 doctors, Erlich doctor told him to wait, so he waited till Monday. He had the top doctor in the world who did his pacemaker, and the doctor made a mistake, put it into the wrong place. Had to start all over again. Rav Moshe said, and he said he heard from Rav Moshe, he was punished for waiting for the top doctor. Second, the Bershtam can't give sechanetz with the second top doctor. So there you have Das Torah, and the Chazon Ish's approach. I very much have an appreciation of the Chazon Ish's writings, but in Chelik Aleph Kus Samach Beis, So he said, Savalti b'mechish meyayim kebezi rochem. At 2 months, I had a stomach problem. Kasher bikarti roifa mumcha b'Tel Aviv. Hinani mikava ki kva yotzasi dei chayvasi ay dei roifa ploini b'sam ploini v'akaver lefu shalem. In other words, I was yoytza my Hishtadlus gendikt. That's an attitude. We have to be yoytza. You know, the Baruch Shalom can get zich an eitzah with the doctor that's local if need be. Now again, if you realize that we have to make a Hishtadlus with Bitochon, then we're not so worried about the top and the top name. Now of course, if it's a question of laziness, some people just take the first one, Kalabali Yadai, and laziness is a chesaron and everything in Avodas Hashem. You have to get a good doctor, it has to be competent. I'll tell you another point. I saw this in Rav Shach, in the Orchos HaChaim, Amid Reish Yudal. I think it's a very important attitude. We're talking about Hishtadlus in health. Someone came to Rav Shach, had a certain machla, and Rav Shach shita was for that machla to go to America. There were better docs in America. So Rav Shach told him, I think you should go to America, make the operation. So the person got nervous, says at Rashiva, it's not shaykh, I can't afford it, I have a family, I just can't leave to fly to America. So before he finished talking, Rav Shach says, I don't want you to go to America, you'll have a surgery right here in Eretz Yisrael. So he looked like, what changed? He goes, nothing changed. I thought that B'derech Klal, the better Hishtadlus, go to America. If you tell me you can't do it, and that's not Ratzon Hashem, then don't do it. The Baruch Shalom could give you a Refuah Shalem in Eretz Yisrael, you know. Eini Hashem on Eretz Yisrael. No, if you ask me, ideally what's better? America. But if you can't, this is your Hishtadlus and no question about it. Another question I wanted to mention, sometimes we have a question of a doctor maybe who's better, but he's not from, he's not Jewish, and there's an Erlicha doctor who's not as good as the other one. So here at Moshe in the Tshuva, Yerdei Chelik Dalet, Siman Ches, he says, Ein Tzarach Lefnim, you don't need him in a Shaila. Because there's a Chiyuv of the Rabbi, and this doctor is more competent, who knows this machla, go to the better doctor. He brings the Gemara by the Zohar, they went even to Goyish doctors, and he says as long as he's not a Mesis or Meidiyach, you could even go to a Goyish doctor. You know, it's like, you know, if you need a Pshat in the Rambam, you go to an Erlicha doctor, Pshat in the Rambam. But if you need a competent doctor, and the other one is not Keneged Yiddishkeit, Moshe held to go to the Goyish doctor. But rather, Moshe has one exception, and this is a mitzvah lefarsim. In Yeridea Beis Nun Zayin, in earlier tshuva, he says when it comes to mental health, psychologists, psychiatrists, there it's very important to choose a right doctor. Because they don't work with typical conventional refuah, they talk to the patient, and if they have distorted or worse hashkafas, then they could do very much damage. You know, they like to blame, and it's the father's fault, it's the wife's fault, and it's the Baruch's fault, and it's the Torah's fault, so when it comes to mental health, psychologists, psychiatrists, their emotions, it's also to go to a koifa who will just mislead the patient and ruin the treatment. But B'derech Klal, the best doctor doesn't have to be necessarily from a doctor. Another point I wanted to mention, I once heard B'Shem Reb Chaim Moizer, B'Shem Reb Chaim Volozhin, that when a doctor told him to take medicine certain hours, he was makbid to keep to the time like he was makbid with Zman Krishma. Now, of course, he meant to say is that if there's doctor's orders, it's like the Bnei Shlom's orders, Rabbi. So again, when I spoke to Rabbi, I asked him, a little bit, if he knows about this Shilas. He says, I'll tell you, he said he heard this not from Rav Moshe, he heard this from Rav Michal Birnbaum, the Mashgiach by Rav Moshe, it was learned in Mir before the Mechama, that he heard from a Goyish doctor that lived in Salant, that the one patient that listened to him and everything he said, every last T, was Yisrael Lipkin, who was called Yisrael Salanta. I guess he was Yisrael Salanta's doctor, and of all the patients he remembers Yisrael Salanta being exceptional, that he followed every last bit of advice. I heard another story about a gadol. I'm not going to mention his name because I didn't hear it, from a person that heard it from him, but I know it's reliable, that before he went to see a doctor, he told the doctor two requests. First of all, please tell me only what I really need, because doctors generally exaggerate, say a lot more, and the patient cuts it in half, and will do that much. He says, by me, I'm going to listen to every word you say. So if it's not necessary, Don't tell me, I don't want to do it. But whatever you say, I'm going to listen. I know Rabbi Yakov once went to a doctor, told him he should lose weight. And I don't know why, Rabbi Yakov was very makbid on his eating habits, but the doctor told him to lose weight. So he came back the next month and he looked emaciated. The doctor says, what happened? Nothing. He goes, why do you look this way? He goes, I followed your diet. He goes, you followed the diet entirely? I never thought anybody does it. I always give a much stricter diet, and you cut it in half and you end up the way I want. I never heard a patient following the diet. So you follow the doctor's orders. But the second request to me was more touching. He said, and also tell me what to do. Don't tell me what's going to be. That's like that famous story, the doctor gave up, and the Rav says the doctor has a head to be merapa, not to give up. But it's deeper than just that. It's not just a play on words. The doctor's not the Rabbi Shalom. He's not going to say, he'll be yichya, mi yomos. You have a right to heal, and Yidden are above statistics and above everything else. So this is basically, I think, part one of this very difficult sugya of Bitochon, Hishtadlus, and health. The second part, v'ya'achrein hichbid, is more focusing on testing, running for tests, running for screenings. Today there's a simple blood test that can test for 200 possible machlos, and who knows what's going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow is already almost today. I did a little research, the tests that they have are just mind-boggling. What is the Das Torah as far as these type of testings? So the emes is, I'm not telling you Das Torah now, actually, I'm just going to tell you the sugya, and each person should hear what you have to hear. L'chayra, why not? The person can find out what's wrong. Why not? But there is one factor that we have to consider before we jump into these type of testings. The pasuk in Parsha Shoftim speaks about all the various kishuf and all the various nonsense that the Goyim was so focused on. Kaisim, Kesamim, Ma'oinim, Menachesh, Mechashev. Now these are various forms of nonsense. In fact, the Chinuch, in the earlier Mitzvah Reish Mem test, when explains the Issa, the Reis of Nichush, he says, because in Yanim Eluhem Divrei Shigoyan, the Sichlus Gemura, Ulam Kodesh Amiti, Ashabach Hakel, La Yeyeslem Sheyishu B'Divrei Sheker. The bulk of all this are shtusim. So why does a smart person do foolish things? But the next pasuk in Parsha Shoftim says, Tamim Tiya Im Hashem Alikecha. What does that mean, Tamim Tiya? What's the adding more than anything else? Zog the Gemara in Pesachim Kufyud Gimel Amid Beis, Minayin She'ein Shaylim B'Kaldiyim. Rashi says, Chayzim B'Kechavim. You can't go to an astrologer that could tell you your future. Shenem Tamim Tiya Im Hashem Alikecha. Now we have to realize, today astrology is a joke. Literally. Horoscopes, and like someone told me correctly, the horoscope that they tell you your future in the newspaper is together in the same section with the jokes. Because it's nonsense. But the emes is there was a time, and we all know it, that astrology was accurate. Avram Avinu was concerned about his Takanigas. The Gemara says in Shabbos, in Kuf Nun Vav, Rabbi Kiva was told by an astrologer his daughter is going to die the day of the chuppah, and I quote the Lashon of the Gemara, the Iga Amil Satuva. Rabbi Kiva, the head of Rabbi Kiva, was very, very worried. And when Lamai says she survived, he said, Shadaka Tatzel Mimavis. It must have been you did something great that saved your life. So there was a time that astrology was absolutely accurate. So the kasha is, so what's wrong with going to an astrologer to know what's going to be? It's not kishuf and nichush and stusim. So you look at the Ramban. Now this is interesting. The Ramban had a certain mahalach. But this Ramban is the Ramban of Yuchasais. It's the back of the Raj B'Chelik Zayin. In Shuvas and Yuchasais Siman Reish Pei Gimel. The Ramban proves from Avram Avinu, from Akiva, from other sources that astrology was real. Elasha Pa'amim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oiseh Nes Li'Reyav Levatem Hem Gzeres Kechavim V'Heim In Nisam Anastorim Shein B'Derech Tashmishe Shel Oilam Shekol Torah Tluya Behem. Of course, the astrology says what's going to be, but a yid is not bound what's going to be. Do I have to tell you that we're all eloquent testimonies to that? We, me and you and Klal Yisrael, were not supposed to be. Avram Avinu was supposed to be childless. There was supposed to be a Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu and Rivka, Akara for 20 years. We weren't supposed to be. So astrology ahein, astrology aher. We are above astrology. So says the Ramban, Lefigach, but listen to his lashon. Ein she'alam behem ela mahalech betmimus shenem atamim tiyam Hashem aleikecha. In other words, they might be telling you what seems to be your future, but you're above future. And that's the Ramban's learning the Pshat and Tamim Tiyah. Now listen to this. Let's say they tell you unsolicited advice, there's going to be this and this. Don't worry, you have superpowers. Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah. You have Torah. Torah is the essence of Chayim. And the Ramban says the following: Aval imra it's tagninas yoim she'ein toivel malachtai nishma men of ein seimach alanes. It's almost like a mixed message. It's a reality. What they're saying, they're predicting is correct. It's almost at a level of ein seimach alanes. But don't go to them. That's tamim tiyah. And if you hear something, you have a right to rely on nisim, because it's not nisim, it's tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. So in other words, Ramban is saying, Minehu Bey. Yes, Avram was concerned, then Rabbi Kiva, and he brings another Gemara, but Yidden are above that. But what seems from the Ramban is that there's an Issa Deraisa of finding out our future. Going to an astrologer who is legitimate is still an Issa Deraisa. Now, what's the point? I'll tell you what the point is. Amunah, as we know, is the cornerstone of Yiddishkeit. But talk is cheap. Amunah is a theory. You could say I'm a Maimon, you could say I'm a every day. But where do you see Amunah Lamaisa? When you're living Amunah. And that's called Bitochon. Taka the same Ramban, the Heilige Ramban, in the Sefer Amunah Bitochon. His lashon is Bitochon is the pre of Amunah. In other words, you could have a tree. That's the root, that's the shirish. But what it gives off is apples. Amunah is a theory, but the product of Amunah is Bitochon. How do you see if someone's truly a Maimon? Does he live with his Amunah? And that's called Bitochon. Amunah is a concept, Amunah is a theory, it's abstract, it's important, but the maisa of it, are you living what you believe? Are you putting your money where your mouth is? Pardon me for that expression, but are you living the reality? That's Bitochon. And it's interesting that where do you see this in a very clear way? Tamim tiyam Hashem aleikecha. You could find out what your future is, but let me see if you're really a Maimon. And I was very gratified. I found the Chreidim in Aleph Kaf Aleph. Ma'il shleimus habitochon mitzvah shenem tamim tiyam Hashem aleikecha. Aval arayim. That the real litmus test, the real proba to see if someone's a Maimon, let's see if he's living tamim tiyah. And it's not coincidental, Rabbi say, that the first Maimon in history, Avram Avinu, his greatness was the Hayei Tamim. Zok the Ramban, and it's again a Ramban L'shita say, that Avram Avinu lived a life of tamim tiyam Hashem aleikecha. But you know, it's not only a Ramban that has this chiyuv. The Gemara says in the Dom Daf Lamed Beis, Kol metamim atzmai HaKadosh Baruch Hu metamim imoi. Kol metamim atzmai sho'im edes. There's a pasuk for that. Shenem hisalech lefanav v'yei samim. Uchsiv v'yisel la'av ha'moin goyim. And I think, of course, the Gemara is telling us a very penetrating statement. If you're going to live with Tmimus, you're going to be another Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was destined not to have children. His future was to be childless. But look at Klal Yisrael. So even if the stargazer says this is your future, you could change it. And then you'll appreciate the hemshech of the pasuk. Tamim tiyah, I understand. What is im Hashem aleikecha? Says the Sifri in Parsha Shayf in Perik Lamed. Im Tamim tiyam Hashem aleikecha, kishat tam, when you will live b'tmimus, chelkecha im Hashem aleikecha. V'chein b'davar, it's pasuk in Tilim, ani besumi eilech, padeini v'chaneni, ani besumi tamachti bi. There's a hemshech. If you live b'tmimus, you will be the Rebbeinu Shalom's Liebling, the Rebbeinu Shalom's Chelik. But even deeper than that, the next pasuk, after Tamim Tiyah, ki agoyim asher teyoresh oisam, But they were busy with these nonsense. Zok the Sifri, and this is in Piska Lamed Aleph, and that's the way David Padroi on his Pirish on the Sifri explains it. You might think Erlich Eden is a wonderful schus, but there's a disadvantage. Because Goyim could find out their future, and they could, act accordingly. They could plan accordingly. We're not going to find out our future. We have our hands tied. We're like disabled. Zok the pasuk chas v'sholem. Ki agoyim ashat yoyrish oisam. They have no Rebbeinu Shalom. They have no Bitochon and Emunah. They have no choice. They have to search and find a often unreliable prediction. But you have a Rebbeinu Shalom. You have Bitochon. You're more guaranteed than them. And that's the hemshich to the next pasuk. And this is the mitzvah, the arais of Tamim Tiyah. And the way the Smak and Mitzvah Yud puts it, Liyos Tamim Shanema, Tamim Tiyah Hashem Alekecha, Pirish, Shlayishab L'Kaldiyam, Leida Asidas, Ela Oima Mashe Yirtza Aboyre Yasa, V'lo Yachka Mashe Yiyah, Kedarmina Mebrachis, Gemara and Daf Yud, Bahadi Kafshel Rachman Olam Aloch. So if someone learns Chumash Rashi, wants to know what Pshat in the pasuk is, this Yisoid of not to look for the future, even though it might be accurate. And all of this is in Shulchan Aruch. Kuf Ayin Tes Aleph, Ein She'alim B'chayzim B'kechavim V'lei B'garolais, Nermose Shenema, Tam Tiyah Hashem Aleikech. The Kolshkein, the Osta Lishol, the Koismin, Machashvin, and the Shach says, why Kolshkein? Because that's Shtusim. But even what's accurate is awesome. Siv Beis, the Ramah quotes our Ramban, that what's Keneged a Mazel, you got to be careful. Because Lamaisa, that's a Nes. But don't look for it, in other words, Rabbi said the Chayzim B'Kechavim was a very real force. But even so, it's us. You find this concept of Tamim Tiyah in Halacha in a different place, which somehow gets a little lost, but it's there. The Ramah in Taf Reish Samach Dal and Orach Chaim, Hilchos Hoshana Rabbah, says that there's a certain time in Hoshana Rabbah that if you go in a certain position, which you're not supposed to do, so I'm not going to tell you what the position is, but a certain position, a person can see what's going to be the next year. But says the Ramah, Yoisatoid liyish tamim v'loy lachker achasidas, and don't do it. So we see Tamim Tiyah is very real halacha l'mais. What's Taka the Pshat? If I could find out what's going to be, I could avoid problems. Why shouldn't I? The answer is, you have a better alternative to avoid problems. And that's like the Ramban says, and like we said, we have three superpowers, Tshuva, Tefillah, Tzedakah. You have the Schus of Torah. Torah is Game Chayenu. We've always mentioned the Rav Chaim Volozhin, in Rav Chaim quotes the Taz, when he was once learning, and a woman came in hysterically, a child is dying, she needs help. Taz says, what could I do? I'm not a doctor. He goes, Rebbe, I want your Tzchus HaTorah. Ki chayecha. And Taz says, du redest zum Zach, you're talking zum Zach. I give you the Tzchus of learning myself and my Talmidim for your son. And the child had a miraculous refuah shalema. The Tzchus of Torah could turn Misa l'chayim. But I think there's another hezbollah which I think is crucial to appreciate this sugya. About 35 years ago, there was someone came from Eretz Yisrael who was able to look at someone's mezuzah and predict his future. It was a very big tumult, yeah, go, not go. So I asked Rabbi at the time. So he said, I don't know the person personally, so what I'm telling you is not about this person, but I'll tell you a thought. I'll never forget it because I think it was such a practical approach in Bitochon, Hishtadlus, and our whole Bitochon and Emunah. The Gemara in Brachas, Daf Samach, the famous Gemara, Rabbi Kiva says, whatever happens, say, L'tavav, L'kom Adar Rachon, L'tavav. Ki Hadar Rabbi Kiva, but did they have a Yovda? He was once traveling and he had to stay at night, and he asked people, can I stay by you? And they all refused. Imagine Rabbi Kiva can't get a place to stay. No, L'tavav. He has no choice. He went out in the field. He's going to camp out. But he had a lantern. He had a rooster to wake him up, and he had a donkey. A wind came, blew out the candle. A cat came and ate up the rooster. Then an animal attacked his donkey. So Banker says, what does that mean, You can't get a place to stay. He loses everything he has. L'tav of it? I mean, you could say it's bad, and Mavarchan ala ro. What's the tab of it? But the Kiva understood that the Baruch Shem knows better. Maybe Taka, he was supposed to get punished, and he was supposed to die. Instead, the Baruch Shem took out the Einish on Eitzim Avanim. So the tab of it. And sure enough, the next day, he found out that Gaisois armies came and took the whole city away. Had they seen his candle, they would have taken him also. Had they heard his rooster crowing, they would have detected him. Called Yavad Rachmanu L'Tavav. In other words, it doesn't mean everything will be just the way you want. It means there's a cheshbon. If something happens, maybe this is the lesser of two evils. Maybe this is a punishment. Maybe this is a prelude for greatness. But there is a l'tav of it. It's a reminder of the Gemara. Oid Hashem ki anaftabi. I praise you, the Baruch Shem, that something happened bad. He missed his flight, and because the flight crashed. So Rabbi says, so what's going to be? Imagine. This is what he told me. You're going to go to this person that's going to tell you your future. Look at your mezuzah. Tomorrow it's going to be a terrible accident. Your car's going to be totaled tomorrow. Oh, so you're going to say, tomorrow I'm going to walk to work. Okay, I don't have an accident. A person's walking to work, a drunk driver comes along and kills him instantly. Right. What's that? That's what you decided. The Baruch Shem wanted to take it out of the car, and you decided to outsmart the Baruch Shem. That's the tab of it. Tamam Tia means we don't know what the future is, and we better not tamper with the Baruch Shem's master plan. Now, I will give you a better mashal, because Rabbi Yakov told me this at a different time. I wanted to visit him. I said, it was after Yom Kippur, and I had a kasha, you're supposed to be moichel someone, he did something bad to you. How can you tell the person to be moichel when he did so much harm to me? So I'll tell you the truth, is really, if a person has bitochon, you don't have to be moichel people, because everything the Baruch Shem does is for the benefit. He told me the following story, but they have it over there. But listen to this. He was a young man with a big family, and he had no panasa. And he was offered a certain shtel in a certain city. He went for the praba, and he did very well. Someone wanted that his relative should get this job, and told me, he said a lashon hara about me, Rabbi Yakov, and I lost the job. I was very dejected. First of all, it was my panasa. I needed it. I felt I could accomplish more. And he told me the truth was I was better than Yenim. So I could do a better job. Okay. He had no choice. He had no panasa. Mamish is lechem lecho. So he came to America. He first came to Seattle. And he did what his family were not happy with. He brought his family to America. But he didn't have the job. So then he told me these words. If I'm not mistaken, it's exactly his words. He says, mein ganze sich, whatever I am. He was like 90 at the time. My 34 grandchildren, and when I got to 50 or Einiglach, I stopped counting, because he was then in his 90s, so he had way over 50 great-grandchildren, is Alt Adank Yenim's Lashon Hara. Why? Because the other person got the job, and he was one of the 6 million Kedoshim that no one ever heard of. Mein ganze sich, my 34 Einiglach, and my 50 or Einiglach is Adank Yenim's Lashon Hara. But I would just add, to dramatize maybe a little better, imagine a banker would have gone to a future teller who says, you have the job, but someone's going to say Lashon Hara. Go to the Rav and the president and tell them that he has an agenda, and don't ignore it. So he would have got the job, and there wouldn't be a ganze zich, and there wouldn't be a 34 Einiglach, and there wouldn't be 50 or Einiglach. So that's really part of Tamim Tiyah. Now, the Stipler writes in the Krayin and Aleph Nun Daled, someone asked him about one of the skirmishes. Now, the war, one of the skirmishes in Eretz Yisrael, I think it was 56. Should he liquidate all his money and run to America? So the Stipler said, according to Heilig Chazanish, von sich allein an minute. You can't run away from yourself. If it's Basher, it's going to happen. Now, of course, he quotes the Meshech Chochmah, every bullet has an address. Now, of course, it says in Shulchan Aruch, when there's a devil in the city, you have to run away. But to feel out of control, helpless and hopeless and panicky, von sich allein an minute. It's all the same concept. I think there's a story from the Baron, I think, that encapsulates Emunah in Mamish in 3 words, a few words. A Baron was Nabachuz Nifta from Yena Machla, and the last days he was suffering terrible Yisurim from the Machla. And his Rebbetzin, his very devoted Rebbetzin, saw he was suffering and says, Zov sich nicht, se wird sein gut. So Baron B'sheirus koich, with his last strength, protests, says, nein. So showing good, weil ich bin in gute Hand. That's the essence of Bitochon. Rabbi was not in denial. He knew that his days were numbered. But Tamim Tia is the belief, Be'emunah Shalema, we're in good hand. Living Ashrei Adam Beiteyach Bach. And now you look in Rashi in Parshas Shoftim, on the pasuk Tamim Tia, Kedarkei B'Kodesh, Rashi's unusual koyach to take sugyas and put them into a few lines. Rashi teaches the chi of the rice of Tamim Tia, his alech imay betmimus, utetzapeloi. I guess he means say, hope to him, daven for him, give tzedakah, shuvas will tzedakah, v'loi tachter achasidus. Don't look for the future. Elakol ma sheyavi alecha kabel betmimus. Whatever the Baruch Shem sends you, the car's going to be in an accident, don't play around with that. You lose your job, whatever it is, except v'oz tia imay ulechelkoi. The hemshach, the godless of Rashi, putting everything into those lines, is the yesod of Tamim Tia. And as we said, the yesod of Bitochon and Emunah. It's Emunah in daily living. Now, the big shaila is, going for testing, for screening, is that a violation of Tamim Tia? You're looking for the future. Is that really correct? So the emphasis in Svara, we could say, why is that a shaila? If I go to an astrologer that tells me my future, that's a problem. Or I'll tell you another thing which I want to mention. Today there's a very big increase in Mukubalim. Now, Mukubalim are Heilige Yidden. Mukubalim are into Mekabel Mo'is. You know what I'm talking about? People that tell you your future, look at this and look at that, and there's a lot of mamish kvira out there. They might be religious. I'll tell you one story. Yakov Hillel, he has a beautiful sefer, going through all these inyanim. He doesn't speak anything about testing, unfortunately, but his sefer called Tamim Tia, about all these different, I wouldn't say alternative medicine, it's not even medicine, it's down a lot of mamish kishuv. But in Amid Chavtes, he said he was there once, someone came to him, a bacha that was engaged, and he went to a Mekubal, who says, the names are not compatible, you have to break the shidduch. He was engaged already. So he ran to Rabbi Yakov and said, what should I do? He goes, listen, I'm telling you this is nothing, but the stipler is not far. Let's go to the stipler, let's ask him. So he wrote his problem, and the stipler couldn't hear, so he wrote out the letter, and the stipler started yelling from such pain that people go to such people. He was yelling and yelling. The family came running in, and he said, what's happening here? He was so pained by the distortion of truth, of emes. And he said that, he told him what happened. He goes, please leave, because this type can't be solved. There's such a proliferation of this sheker. And the Stipe was reading, and he's venting how angry he is. After he finished, he called him back and said, I guarantee you that this is a shidduch, get married, alive al tzavar. He just reprinted the sefer in Tavshin Ayin Zayin. It happened at least 30 years ago. And he says, I know the family, they have a wonderful family with wonderful children. That's a chsaron of Tamim Tia, to go to force us out of the realm of Derech HaTeva or Emunah and Bitochon. But what does it have to do with testing? Someone looking for a machla, he's not looking for a future. He wants to know if he has a machla now to treat it. Rav Moshe in Yeridei Chelik Aleph Siman Tzadik has a very bizarre tshuva, shayil I should say, but the yesod is important. Someone that was not just, he didn't believe in sitting in by a shidduch or going out. He had this bizarre idea that he's going to live with the girl a few weeks, not the yichud of course, but somebody else is there, to know, how she burns the cholent and how she washes dishes, to get to know everything about her. So Moshe says it's not kedai, because first, no matter how long you spend, you're not going to know the truth anyhow. And besides that, he says it won't help, because tamim tiyam Hashem olekecha. In other words, by shidduchim is the essence of mi Hashem ishalish. You're going to outsmart the Rebbeinu Shalom. And I'll tell you a story. I'm not going to say who, but I know when Gavin told me he had a friend that his big thing in shidduchim was that the girl has to be healthy with a strong heart. And I don't know how he did it. He made the girl run up a hill when they went out. So you're not talking about sit-ins or go out. It's run-ups. Anyhow, but the irony was that the girl passed the test, but she was nifta shortly after with some yana machla, which is not a joke, which is a sad reality of Tamim Tia. You have it all figured out. The Baruch Shem has it figured out. But anyhow, from this tshuva from Rav Moshe, we start to get an inkling that Tamim Tiyah is not just astrology. It means let the Rebbeinu Shalom run his world and have a little bitochon. And Taka, Rav Moshe said, or this is my Shver Zangezund, the Shaito, and my Shver was raising his family, that Rav Moshe was asked about all these testings, and Rav Moshe says, Tamim Tiyah. And I saw quoted from another Talmud of his that Rav Moshe said that if someone feels a symptom, you go check it out. But if someone's perfectly healthy, to go take a test. And he also stressed that sometimes they're invasive, and they do more, sometimes they could do damage also. But the Yesod Moshe says is, and I quote, he says, you can't run away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If the Baruch Hu wants, it's going to be, it's going to be. Now, if, again, Moshe says, if there's a symptom, or a chalila machla, then Rabbi kicks in. But to look for things that don't seem to be a problem, Tamim Tiyah. Now again, like the Ramban, this is easier to understand. Because Ramban says even going to a doctor. But certainly even like the Rashba, this was Rav Moshe's mahalach. And when you see this clearly, when he was asked, and this is in the tshuva in Even Ezer, Chelik Dalet Siman Yud, about Pesach's testing, the Dor Yesharim, he says, although it's a miyat katan, it's a very small percentage. It happened to be before the test was so prevalent. It was 1 out of 3,500 children are born with Pesachs. This is his lashon. Hakra l'tamim tiyah Hashem olekecha ukepirish Rashi b'chumish shekas v'salachem b'tmimus v'tetapela v'sachach. See this? But says Rav Moshe, since the test is so easy today, it was made affordable and easy, and also the tragedy of having a sick child is devastating. So Rav Moshe said the pain of having a sick child, you should inform the public that there is a test available. And the bulk of the tshuva, which Rav Moshe's concern was that it will come out ruining shidduchim because people are going to worry about this shidduch and this family. But what Rav Booth is in Tom, Rav Moshe did not say it's a chiyuv because he felt you can't say it's a chiyuv. A chiyuv to look for a problem doesn't exist. He allowed it. He signed that it's mutter. Rav Micha Cohen to put out a safe about medical questions told me another cheshbon, I think which is 100% right. For a yachid, 1 out of 3,500 cases is a miyat that you don't have to be chayish about. But if you're talking about a global issue on a community level, I'm certain, I hope I'm right, that there's at least 3,500 children born to get it in Kleisel every single day. That means if you don't take these testings, there's going to be a Tay-sex child born every single day. That's a himmel geschehnish. So on a community level, we have to take this test to avoid these tragedies. So Rav Moshe's tshuva, I think, indicates that mahalach, that on a yachid, it's a miyat sheina motzi, 1 out of 3,500. But Lamaisa, there's no doubt about it, Dor Yesharim has done wonderful work. It's accepted by Kamat Gans Klal Yisrael. I should mention there are some yeshivish and chassidish circles that don't take the testing. They go with the original Tamim Tiyah. But basically, this is the understanding, Rav Moshe Psak, as many Gedolim. The question is, when other tests come along that are adding much more, that already could be an issue. That already maybe is a chesaron of Tamim Tiyah. I heard from some Rabbanim that said that they're not nichel with more testing and more testing. But another point that I wanted to mention, and I know this is the sheet of Rabbi David Feinstein, is that also, when someone has a machla, you need a lot of schusim to overcome it. If someone doesn't yet know about a machla, and he davens, like the Gemara says, every day, to maintain well health, then the tefillah could pile much more. I know someone told me Sachina Rebbe has a letter like that. He says, don't tell me about the machla, tell me when you have a chashash. Because once there's a machla, you have to be pile grace Yeshua's. The Stipler said this also. I saw Rav Sternbach and Beis, Tavshin Lamed. So basically, I know Reb Chaim Kanievsky was not happy about all these testing that people are making. He says, Tamim Tiyah. Another cheshbon, like we said earlier, the Baruch has his plan. You go along with the plan. If there's a problem, you're mechoyev to, Rabbi. But many people do go take testings, even these exotic testings. I would understand where it's coming from, simply because, as I told you, to look for a future. You go to an astrologer, what's going to be next week. That's wrong. But the testings are basically looking for a pre-existing problem. That might not be a chesaron of Tamim Tiyah. Rabbi David also said that something that has become routine and standard, you're allowed to go to a doctor, a checkup, people go to dentists. So what's routine has become normal. That's not a chsaron of tamim tiyah. But I think we have to say sort of a sikum of it today, that all agree that everything we do in health has to be a product, a manifestation of a reina, heilige, Yiddish emunah. Everything, even when a person is fighting for his life and the doctor makes a life-saving surgery, he has to have the eyes of emunah to say, doctor, you're only a shliach. Baruch atah Hashem, roifei choyle yama Yisrael. Or as our Matasio Zangazin said, he's not even a shliach. A shliach does something in your stead. The doctor is not even a shliach. The Baruch Shalom made the surgery. That's the real emunah. But basically, we have to keep in mind that when someone does take a test, the doctor says you're good for 10 years. He's not good for another moment. I mean, halavai should be good forever. But we need the tefillah that keeps us alive. That's our Hishtadlus. You know, the Aris Devash, Rabbi Yonason asked a kasha. The Gemara says in Brachis that Chizkiah was a melech, and Chayr was a tzaddik. He foresaw having a child as evil as Manasseh. So he didn't have children. And he was held responsible. What's wrong? If you would have a child like Manasseh that's machis avinu shebashamayim, would you want to have such a child? But I think the answer probably has to be Bahadi, like the Gemara says, Bahadi kafsh rachman olamali. What you foresee in the future, but that doesn't have to be your future. Tshuva tefillah tzedakah mavinas roya gezayah. There's no klal Yisrael if we go with our prediction, prognosis, statistics. That's all nonsense for a yid. Rabbi Yaina writes in Shari Tshuva Gimel Amud Aleph, you're not allowed to worry. There's an issa of worrying. He brings two psukim. When they go to war, they weren't allowed to worry. They see armies and soldiers, you're not allowed to worry. Why can't we worry? When we go to war, we're guaranteed that we're not going to die. How do we know that? Forget. When they went to war, they wrote a get to their wives. The Kohen Gadol says, if you're scared about dying, don't go to war. What does the enemy? You're not allowed to worry? They were worried. So the Stipler in Parashayim is a golden avort. A person goes to war, has to write a get, and has to worry he might not come back alive. But look at the Pesukim Rabbi Yaina quotes. Kisayim b'vav charab magoyim ha'elim imerka eicha uchel harishayim kisayim l'mechama risa sus v'rechav amrav nimchal asir mehem. If you're worried because maybe you don't have enough schusim to survive, that's fine. If you're worried because of statistics and prognosis and you're outnumbered and look how many soldiers they have and we don't stand a chance, that's the avla. Yidden are above statistics and prognosis and predictions. That's the aside of tamim tiyah. If we live with emun and bitochon, we should be gesund, and we'll have taka. We're in good hand. Guten Tag to you all.
I would like to thank Rabbi Smith for the wonderful shir. This week is Tu B'Shvat. Will be a shir Monday, tomorrow, through Rabbi Gun Chaim Shteinville till 1 o'clock. All the halachos of brachos and a varma chasidische shmuz by Rabbi Zev Haga on Tuesday 1 o'clock about Tu B'Shvat. And our boys side, the Shalom project Baruch Hashem is still going all over the world with tremendous Kiddush Hashem for hundreds of thousands of Yidden with thousands of shiurim in over 10 languages. We need the help of the tzibur. Everyone has a big source for good the kinder, good the doiris. Sponsor shiurim Tafel Shpacha. Rather you check the Eden Shaitar and help out. You know the tremendous source in our box of Torah all over the world. Tizkra mitzvahs. If Chaim Rakashim Rosh Hashanah Zbachar Zach is Yisrael Teger Hibrem Torah mitzvahs. Shenem Alan Yakov's Matzidke Yagdil Torah V'Yadim.
May you
Seekum shortly. In any minute you have the seekum.
I didn't put insurance.
Insurance, life insurance. Okay, we'll talk about life insurance. Everybody should be gesund.
Oh, said I wouldn't send him a bill. I just want to do that. I had him for practice. So, because he says, examine your Shemayim, how much money he has to spend that year on medical. So if I don't send him a bill, I can't go to another doctor. That was the way he looked at it.
Well, check him, so.
Something, not a big serious thing bothering him, you know.
Very nice.
Saying
That's the shot, okay.
that was his idea. He'll call me and I'll see him. So, and if I'll send the bill, so that'll be part of what he was. Nigs are, but he has to pay the medicine. So I wouldn't send him the bill.
Very good. He's right. Well, when you was a pleasure, that's not a difficulty. He wasn't yaitz with you.
That's right.
Good, so be good. Is it? Oh, very good. It's true. You know, you have it all figured out. The moment that you have a kasha, you fall apart.
You should have the thing with Moshe the ball, became a part of
Right, look, yeah.
Можете voltar para a chama de ferro.
Moshe said that last one?
Dr. Ashlier. Não tem, depois que chega lá, outro xixi, que eu falei que a caixa. Vroeger ja, die gedeeld naar Westeren. Hier en dan verschijnt de bal.
Ze hebben een fasting maar gezegd. Shit, because it's stopping from very, but not the bread, but that was me to say.
Brengen
You tell me exactly the names of Jerry Hollander from school. It's too much in Jerry Hollander.
Mama Kimura brief No, she's still alive. No, because the invitation to the Ashkenazis, you know, like this, you have to If not, don't take it. It's not leave to leave a shrek. Chances for me.
Give up to your daughter.
And he was a guest.
I don't want to say a lot what I knew, but like someone told me a story. I said, someone said, Steinmetz?
I mean,
Yes, I know.
because I tell you so much of the Jews.
He said that some of the testing is going to do. They get tested. He said they're testing for everything. Someone said here his had to get tested. So I told him to take you doing the right away for the testing. He said he couldn't go to China, so he sent it. He took a video. I said, "Learn it now." Yes. Not cousins, even though they said that.
Go to the show now.
I don't know. I still don't know.
Do the extra. Go to the show now. Do you want to do that extra testing? I said no.
Let me tell you something. I don't say anything around, but someone good. A lot of people are nice to me. They go. I'm talking about the girl who's an interview on the radio. So we asked Ryan first. First is And Moshe was not.
Why is it different than the Menashe ben Chizkiah?
The other hand, we have families who have like more than one child. Like photo.
Why is it different than Menashe ben
I'm
Chizkiah?
not going to say. I don't want to say it. The Shita. Moshe's Shita. Is that all? I don't want to say that. Someone told me, but I'm not there and seeing. I don't know. They don't take. Huh?
No, the whole thing I have
Allah? Someone said his daughter works there with 6 children. I'll tell you something. Actually, we had an
actually from other places.
Actually, the Satmar was, yeah. He came to terms with that. I worked with him. I was the first. I was a younger man. He asked me to help him. He's like broken. Like, who was to take care? Like, who are you? People tell me that.
Because there's different groups in Sama.
I never. No, he said
no,
not true. No truth at all.
Should have been higher.
They had a sheet against you. See, I'm happy I didn't say anything. That's why I said it's in the circle.
I should have been Ayoel. I should have been Ayoel.
The children, you live here, but they learn there. Whatever, it's different. But there's no
I should have
sheet.
been Ayoel, so do not have been Ayoel.
The kids, there's no sheet that you would have heard of it. See that?
How is it
I'm
different?
so happy. He said his daughter works with a whole group of kids.
No,
she works in my.
Moist, they call me from somewhere.
Where are they from? Where are they from? But they also, yeah, but not taste sense. Thank you very much. I'm happy you said that.
How is it different than Menashe ben Chizkiah, the taste act? It's all very something. How is it different? What's the
I
difference?
told you, Rabbi, just said that the combination. I'll give you a good demo. I'll get it to the Sikum. Insurance. It's a big sugya. Rabbi Yashiv said that maybe on a personal level you should have Bitochon. But if a person's passed away young and he leaves Klaiso with the burden of Yisayim, so there's a difference. It's a community. God looks at a community as a different sheep. So I thought about this. I think there are 3,500 children.
Insurance also the same thing?
No? The whole world? Every day, no? The whole world?
Of what? What's the number?
Other 3,500
That what? That what? That have taste act?
No, that are born every day. Whatever, 2 days. Okay, ready?
1,277,000 kids every year. Once a week you have
Once a week. No, Lakewood alone. I think it's one Lakewood alone.
every day.
What's it? What's your?
That's 3,000 a month.
Rabbi Smith, they want to seek him. They want to go home.
Oh, how do himself,
yeah, he looked through it and he found a girl at Maribel. Sweden was in that one. Since the come, he came to the boat camp every place. The fear side, one Dominican camp was
Bat Yam. This is what
Talk about the yeshiva.
Yeshiva, American boys, they stay in yeshiva. He would come around. He would say that the man was the youngest boy who was actually in yeshiva. One year I was bad, but I heard the story. This was his story. It was unbelievable. He left to look for his other. He never had children in life.
And I was first, I know first I heard.
I can't say that about the Brahman because we hear it. This is known.
You can't say that.
The story about the person running is he made his girl run. He had a tamachachim, he took a lap nach, he got to be married, and the second wife. Okay. Yeah, let's go.
Like a chicken or
I don't know. I'll talk about it afterwards. I have the same style. I'm also over 50. I don't know.
That's what he
The
said.
verse is
Things that we
sikkim.
understand it,
Just today's sugya is hard to make a sikum, but we'll try. At least the very major chiyuv of nishmartem is based on the appreciation of every moment of life, our most valuable treasures, our life, and no doubt about it, nishmartem ma'oid, shmor nafshim ma'oid, and the person has to be careful how he lives his life, healthy, eating, and avoiding things that are dangerous. There's also a chiyuv of irape, even though the Ramban holds it's not more than a heta. But it seems that the Rishonim, and that's why we paskin, that's why Klal Yisrael paskin, there's a mitzvah of yirape that a person has to do, make aggressive pursuit to find the best refuah. As we said, not necessarily the top of the line, but there has to be a focus on this mitzvah of yirape. But it has to be done with emunah, the same way we put on tefillin with emunah, we do this mitzvah of yirape with the emunah, ki anei Hashem reifecha. We say a tefillah before every procedure, and every time we take medicine, we give credit where credit is due. And as the Chayv Lavavas use the lashon, if a person goes to a doctor, b'leidarish as Hashem, that could be shittuf. That could be like the Chalila, he believes in a joint chas v'shalom, a Rabbi Nisham, chas v'shalom. And it's similar to the machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Shimon bar Yochai regarding panasa. The Ramban seems to go like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, but the Welt assume like Rabbi Shmuel, tackle l'shitasa, Rabbi Shmuel l'shitasa. We have to realize Teva is gematria Elokim. Our job is to live b'derech HaTeva and see the Elokim in every bit of our derech HaTeva. It's a person has to go get a competent doctor, a mumcha. It could even be a guy, unless his mental health, we said, is different. The person should get a doctor has the right hashkafas, but in general, a person should get a competent mumcha. It doesn't have to be necessarily the biggest expert in the world. That's a luxury. The Baruch Hashem gives a chanetza with a doctor that's competent, as long as it's not laziness. When someone's just lazy or takes a laid-back attitude, a complacent attitude, that's not wrong. Like everything else, you do a mitzvah as best as you can. A person should follow doctor's orders. That's part of the mitzvah of yirape. A doctor tells you to do something that's awesome. No, then you have to ask a shayla. But a doctor tells you a person to eat on Yom Kippur, so it's a mitzvah to eat on Yom Kippur in that situation. Bitochon is the pri of Amunah, says the Rambam. Amunah is a theory, is a hashkafa. Bitochon is, are you living with your bitochon, with your Amunah? And a very good example is Tamim Tiyam Hashem Aleikecha. That a person could find out a future which is accurate. In those days it was accurate, but says the Ramban in the Chuvas, we have to live with tmimus, that we're above predictions and prognosis and statistics. We believe that tefillah could change everything, and every yid is eloquent testimony. We're all here today because Avram defied statistics and prognosis, and Yitzchak was an akara, and him and his wife are akara, but there's still a Klal Yisrael. The yesod of Bitochon is we're in good hand. The testing of Dar Yisharim is Klal Yisrael is a minig, and it is done, and it should be done. More than that, we can only say that a person has to know his level of Bitochon. Don't forget, according to the Ramban, it's totally in a person. If someone feels worried, if there's a history in the family, and he's worried about it, there's certainly what to be soymech on to take these testings. If someone wants to go tamim tiyah without looking for trouble, without looking for machlas, that's certainly also, it seems to be included in tamim tiyah. But one thing is, a person has to know that the most important hishtadlus is our tefillah. The Gemara says a person should daven not to get sick. So a person takes a test, and he's good for 5 years. He's good as far as his hishtadlus of refuah, but he definitely needs tefillah. No one's secure. Everybody's secure with our tefillah. I want to just mention one point. Insurance, people say, is it mutter to take insurance, life insurance? Is that a chesaron of tamim tiyah? So we would impulsively think, well, according to Rav Moshe, that he was not so excited about all these testing, maybe insurance is also. But Re'ez Apel, Rav Moshe has 2 tshuvas in Archayim, Beis, Kuf Yud Aleph, and in Daled Memches, where he says absolutely no shaila insurance, life insurance is mutter. How do these 2 stim? It's pashut. Because life insurance is basically a way of investing your money. It's a way of making a certain plan for panasa. When it comes to panasa, we pass like Rabbi Shmuel. There's no shaila you're allowed to make a plan for your panasa. When it came to health, we had what seems to be a mahalach, v'rapi, allowed to look for refuah, but not look for a machla. So it's possible that even if insurance, which taka, the life insurance, the minig, roiv ha'olam is taka, take insurance, and Rabbi Yashiv has a tshuva in the Chelik Aleph, I think it's him in your test, where he says another cheshbon, that this is also a community issue, because if people don't take insurance, then if the young, the burden of taking care of the Yisayimim and Almonais are so overwhelming on a tzibur, that as far as the community obligation, there's a chiyuv to take insurance. So it's basically insurance is the minig is to be makel. That's certainly the minig of I think almost all the paiskim. Some taka still had this problem with it, but it's not necessarily the same as the question of testing. That's a different issue in tamim tiyah. Hashem Alekeh. Very perplexing. I said yes. I don't know, he said that he has children because their vision don't have good hearing and no one's going to shit over them. Stam is always talking, right? Now he's going to see it.
I think it's before I came up with it. But then I know he didn't believe in it, but I heard outside.
Yeah?
30 years.
He didn't let it.
He doesn't believe in it, but when people...
We used to swear up, not to right. He told you not to take it.
No, I told my colleague that when they're wedding was from outside. He said if they want, of course you should do it. But I don't think
Yeah, he told me we changed it.
they changed.
Now he takes more extensive testing because he has a lot of, the family. That's what he told me. Yeah, more than this. Visions has a problem with hearing, so no one's mishadach with him. So,